Oh wow, I gotta fix some things. Ooh. We started early, and almost an hour early. Oh, what's up? What's up? It's Ick and Mel. Welcome, guys. I started early. I cut my hair, by the way. It's been years since I cut I feel weird. Cut it like even. Because I had this line that somehow almost ended up in the middle of my head. Like, bro, like in the middle of my head, there was like a line. Because it was one side. And somehow it kept moving over and over and over and over and over to the middle. So I had like a fucking, like that. So I had to cut it, man. I'm cutting it to let it get even. Whatever. So, yeah. But what's up? Welcome back. I appreciate you guys. Good. I was going to say morning, afternoon. Yesterday was so crazy with that guy that was hanging off a bridge about to throw himself off. Glad that he didn't. But he's ready to throw himself off. Now, there's these protests outside of the courthouse. This is Masshole Mafia. So she is, she believes Karen Read is guilty. But on the other side across the street, there's the free Karen Read people that feel she's innocent. Like she didn't do anything. She didn't have any involvement. So there's two groups of people. I went into her chat. They were a little vile. Some of them were like, no, it can Mel. No. Because, you know, I already expressed my opinion. I believe she did it. I believe she did it. I believe it's obvious. I don't think there's a secret to it. But somehow, this is the most controversial, divisive thing, more divisive than politics, the most controversial topic that's ever existed in humankind. People have unsubscribed. People have left the channel. There's all kinds of doxing going on with this story. Criminals becoming victims all of a sudden. These people that have been habitual criminals, all of a sudden they're victims and stuff. It's been a mess. Thank you, guys. You like it like this better? Interesting, really. Okay. So today is the motion to dismiss hearing. You know what I found was kind of interesting? I thought it was weird that like these jurors, they're reaching out to like, let's see, Karen Read, jurors. One of the most weirdest things, they're reaching out, speaking out about like they're upset or they're confirming they found her not guilty on 2 counts. Why are they so like, when I was a juror, we came to our conclusion and I went home. I wasn't like, like fussing and complaining and reaching out to people and writing letters to whoever. I did my verdict. But these people, they sound kind of off with the jury. They're so like, they're coming, bro, you did your job. Sit down and get out. Shut up. Now there might be another trial. It's the next group of people. But they can't let it go. Kind of like the free Karen Read people. They can't let this shit go. They're holding on to this thing forever. It's been weeks and months and they're still arguing with each other. I moved on from that shit. I'm here because there's an update. But these people have been bickering and arguing and going for weeks and months. Now Turtle Boy's a victim. And some YouTuber chick that's been propagating and encouraging, attacking witnesses and families and all kinds of shit. All of a sudden, all these people are victims. They all got ailments now, all kinds of shit. Fake ass reporters, Sue O'Connell. Act like she's not biased when she's biased. That's F. The only relevancy, the only time anybody's ever heard of her is because of the story. A lot of these people, the only relevancy they have is this fucking story. Before that, nobody knew them. Now, this is the only thing is the popular thing to go with the conspiracy. Before that, nobody knew these fucking people. And so I think that's why they're probably latching on for weeks and months, because there's nothing else for them to talk about. There's nothing else. Nobody cares about anything else they have to say besides this story and the conspiracy. That's it. All right, let's listen in a little bit, see what the protest going on. These people literally made Karen Reed into a celebrity. She's a celebrity now. Donnie, I like it with the rainbow flag. They literally made this woman into a celebrity. She's popular. She walks through the streets. People are hugging, taking pics. Oh my God, they're fans. They're sucking on her toes. People are getting tattoos. By the way, not that I want to get political, but I don't know if you guys saw the other day where this woman tattooed Trump on her forehead. Okay, listen, I like Trump. I know that might be shocking to some. I like Trump. But you think I'm going to get a tattoo? This motherfucker? Like, on the forehead? And I thought this was fake. I thought people were saying, oh, it's fake. It's fake. Apparently, it's real. A 21-year-old OnlyFans model gets Trump, like, tattooed on a freaking forehead, bro. Isn't that crazy? Trump! I remember somebody got Drake on their forehead, too. A long time ago, some lady, she really did it. So I don't know if this is a clout move or what this is, but yeah, it's crazy. Hoax, I don't know if you saw what was happening with my hair before. There was the line that was supposed to be on the side here was literally almost down the middle of my head. And so I told my barber, I was like, bro, like I just have to cut it. We have to fix this shit. I can't have a line going down the middle of my head. So he fixed it. It's because I went to a couple of different other barbers. The guy from last night that was hanging off a bridge saying that he was going to off himself. For those that missed it, he was taken into custody. So that was good. He gave up. I really didn't think the guy was going to jump. I think he was looking for attention, but also not wanting to face his consequences. And let me tell you something. I used to date this chick. I've told the story a couple times. I used to date this chick, and she knew the story of my father. He offed himself. And somebody last night was like, oh, unalive awareness, suicide awareness, Mel, blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, my dad offed himself. I know about this bullshit. I don't feel sympathetic to it. I have like harsh feelings about that. But I think I've come to like let it go somewhat, but like I think it's cowardly. I don't know. You're not gonna pull a string on me with that shit. But anyway, this chick that I was dating a long time ago, this psycho chick, she knew about that situation, and so this chick would try to be like, anytime I was gonna leave her, I would have killed myself if you leave me. Try to like hold you hostage and shit. And I know people have told me about that too. Like some people have been in that kind of situation before, like in this hostage relationship shit. If you leave, they kill themselves. You can only pull that for so long. You know, and she used to do that. And so one time she said she took a bottle of pills outside of my mother's house. And I was like, wow, like you're going to disrespect my mother place like that? Like I took the pills, Mel. She left, right? So I came out, I went outside. And I saw the empty bottle of pills. And I was like, oh shit, this chick, I don't know if she really took it or not, but I knew she didn't. I had a feeling she didn't take it. She's one of those chicks that like, oh, I'm going to pretend the bottle's already empty, but I'm going to pretend I chucked this shit. And so I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm calling 911 on her ass, because if she really did take it, I'm not going to have that on my mind. It's not going to be a burden on me. I'm calling the cops on her ass. So I called the cops on her ass, and they found her. And they dragged her ass to the hospital, and she had weed in the car. She got in trouble because she had weed in the car. And so she went to the hospital. They pumped her stomach, you know, I guess with the charcoal stuff or whatever. And she had told me long after, she was like, you know, the doctor said he didn't think I took anything. I was like, yeah, I don't think you took anything either. But she never, I need to ask her. I never asked her. I didn't ask her to follow up with that. I don't think she ever took anything, but people out there will do that shit to manipulate you and control you and whatever. All right, let's see.
How do you need a permit for that billboard they've got over there? Seriously.
I snitched. I called the cops.
See the billboard? Do they need a permit for something that big?
There's no innocent explanation for voluntarily being charged. When you just drop them off a few hours.
Let's see if I can find out. Maybe now she might be. Years and years later, she might be.
She
Let's see, Karen Reed. Do we have a link yet? Oh, we got a link. Okay, we got a link. Court TV. See if Law and Crime is live. Law and Crime. Oh, Law and Crime is gonna have a live too.
You don't ask those questions. Make sure you start asking the stuff.
True, that's true, Cheryl.
I believe, like,
Chris, that's true too.
some conspiracies are real, some are right? They're pretty rare. But you want to believe that it makes sense for people to.
Mimi, that person was bipolar too. It can be very tricky. I've heard her stories. I mean, not all bipolar people are like that, but sometimes, you know, they don't want to take their medication in some situations because I think that some of them like the mania. It's like a high or some shit. I think in some cases it can be really tricky dating somebody that's bipolar. I've had two that I know of. I mean, shit, maybe they're all bipolar, but two of them I know for sure, confirmed.
It's staff. Justice for John.
During the blizzard, and normally that stuff is up to sleep.
So we'll see, man. I'm curious to see what let me see. Karen Reed, motion to dismiss. I think it's just Bev. She's going to be hearing out the attorneys. I think they're trying to get the two charges dismissed. Is what's going on. The murder and what else? Let's see. Reed's defense team states it received unsolicited communications from jurors. Who does that? What kind of juror? Oh yeah, I'm trying to reach out to the why. Unsolicited communications from jurors who deliberated in her first trial, indicating that in no uncertain terms, that the jury had a 12-0 agreement that she was not guilty of 2 of the 3 charges against her, including the charge of murder in the second degree. Okay. So I guess they're trying to get the murder off the table and the other charge. That's who's on this is Masshole's live stream, Stace. Yeah. Oh, really, Carly? A juror already came forward and said it wasn't true. I really feel like there's some free Karen Ray people in that jury. I really think this is a trial that they should take out of that city. Canton. This is what it's called, Canton. And Canton seems to have a lot of drama. Why they got so much drama over there? It's like the housewives of Canton. There's always drama over there. These people have got nothing else. Do they go to work? Do they have jobs? Do they have families? They're all out there every day, all the time, for years and months and weeks.
It just seems like they let that creep right in. Because he has so much time to talk to them.
You did get 3 notifications? Well, you got Twitter, probably, YouTube, and maybe Discord. Are you in Discord too?
I love it. Oh, there's Lally.
That's Lally. Oh shit, okay. What if any? Lally, what if any? Yeah, they had to send a lawyer. They had a lawyer send a letter to the judge saying there wasn't a not guilty verdict. Ooh, interesting to keep the. I could understand that too if jurors were afraid because these people are so insane and nutty, and like people like Turtle Boy are trying to like find their names and release it or whatever he does. You can't live over there in peace. Oh, there was some news saying that Joe Rogan endorsed JFK Jr. Well, apparently Joe Rogan now, he's saying he didn't endorse him. Walking it back. This is me saying that I like RFK Jr. as a person, and I really appreciate the way he discusses things with civility and intelligence. Okay. I also think Trump raising his fist and saying fight after getting shot is one of the most American effing things of all time. I'm not the guy to get political. But why don't you bring him on the podcast? That's what I don't get. Bring him on the podcast. He said there was clips of him saying no to the interview multiple times. I'll leave him a comment. Not that he's going to see it, but. All right. Karen Reed. Oh, I forgot about the wig. Yeah. Auntie Bev. Is Mustard here? B. Tim, what's up? I feel bad for that lawyer. All he wants to do is his job and he has to deal with this stuff. Oh, yeah, I heard you sold the house, right? Is that true? Karen Reed selling the house?
He's supported.
He's obviously not used to this kind of situation. What the
Nope.
prosecutor would be.
Right.
But keeps his cool when he comes in, and hopefully we know he's a hard-working guy. We know
Yes,
he's probably nobody.
he is. He probably doesn't sleep much.
So
Yeah.
hopefully, he does need to do a little bit better job next time. I do think there's an issue with.
Oh,
he
Lally.
didn't have the time resources or other resources that he should have had.
Absolutely.
But now he's going to have it. The evidence is there. The evidence is bulletproof. So
Yep.
just put it all together in a way for the jury that they can't deny.
Now, I have to admit, he really needs to call on you, Kevin.
Well, I'm not a lawyer.
I know, but what you have laid out on Twitter for all of this, it's amazing. You could.
What say you, Mel? Should they drop? I don't know. I really don't know if they should drop the charges or not. I don't know how that works. When you have multiple charges on the table. Because when I did that trial that I was on, okay, we found a verdict. That's a difference. We didn't not find a verdict, but when I was on that trial for the baseball player James Liritz, we didn't find him guilty for murder, but we found him guilty for like DUI. There was multiple charges, so like I don't know if you don't decide on one thing, but you decide on another. But they didn't decide on anything. Everything else just gets removed off the table. I don't know if it works like that. But I don't know. I think that would have to be like a lawyer would have to know that, I'm not sure. I thought that they were going to find her guilty on manslaughter, DUI. I mean, she clearly was under the influence. It's not even a question, and so was everybody else. At least DUI. How they couldn't come to that conclusion, I don't know. But I figured at least manslaughter, DUI type of thing.
And the last time that John moved, according to his health app, was 12:32 and 60
Thank you, Mo.
seconds.
You guys like it like that?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right.
It's bulletproof.
It is bulletproof.
The
Yep.
defense can't do anything
It's
about
been
it.
years since I cut it
They
even.
didn't try to in the last trial. They tried to question the clock a little bit, but that was absurd. I don't think anybody really felt that.
Yep. Meanwhile,
I didn't see the interview with Trump on Impulsive, no. And the Pauls have a couple of controversies coming up. Or they've been having controversies, actually. I don't know. Lindsay, I'd be curious to hear from the jurors as well, too, if they wanted to speak. The whole thing with, like, Turtle Boy, now he said that there was somebody that put a dead turtle on his house and it was bleeding and all this stuff. I don't think they ever came to a resolution on that, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he did that shit himself. To me, he strikes me as one of those people. Just like some of these people now that, like, covering this Karen Reed stuff that have been, like, condoning the attacks. All of a sudden, they're victims, and they're posting all their shit on Twitter about their life, and all of a sudden, they want this sympathy shit after they've been provoking and encouraging, attacking people, and random fucking people with no evidence or whatever. People that aren't on a trial. So crazy to see people like that. Oh my gosh. Check this out, guys. Wait, is it blow up? I think we could watch this. Passenger plane falls out of the sky in Sao Paulo, Brazil. At the moment, it's not clear how many people were on board. Bro, that's why I can't do plane. I watch too many documentaries of these planes. Oh my God. Holy shit.
Tá porra. Caralho, bicho. No.
Oh man. No survivors for sure. Yeah.
Caralho, moleque.
Buster Mama, hey.
Louco, bicho.
Is Lindsay actually in? Oh, Lindsay, holy shit, you're alive. Thanks for coming by. I know you got big and stuff. But thank you for stopping by. What do you think of the Karen Reed, Lindsay? You think it's a big conspiracy? What's your thoughts on that? It's so bad. Oh my God. Maybe. Yeah. Oh my God. Rachel, thank you for the 13 months. Says, oh hell no, I can't drive. I don't need to go there. The plane thing, man. I don't know. When I was a kid, I used to fly all the time to see my father, and I'd fly alone, and it was like all this fun experience. And once or twice, I think they let me check out the cockpit, and they just see all the buttons. I think they stopped that now. They don't do that anymore. But back in the day, they used to do that. And when I was a kid, I didn't really care. As like life was just, I didn't have anything to lose. You know that feeling? You don't really think about that shit. You don't really care when you're a kid. Now it's like, oh, I got all this shit that I got to take care of, and I want to be around for Maddie and all this stuff. So I'm a little more like, more experienced, paranoid, skeptical. All these documentaries, anything can go wrong on a plane. I've seen so many plane crashes. I don't know. I mean, eventually I'm going to have to fly again, but it's in the back of my mind. That chick that got her face tattooed, Trump, that chick's not even in America? She can't even vote. She cannot even vote. Somebody said, she said, so I did it. And somebody said, so I love when warning labels come. When women come with warning labels. Wow, Trump girl. Okay. Tell me you're starved for attention without telling me you're starved for attention. 21 years old, bro. Wow, imagine that was your daughter getting a face tattoo. Like, oh my God. Mustard, yeah. We're going to have to see Mustard. It's true. Hey, Maria, how you doing? All right, so Marie says it's a shady situation, and I believe she is innocent of hitting John O'Keefe. All right. Hopefully the system will be able to find real justice for John O'Keefe. It's real, Matt. Apparently it's real. I thought it was fake. People were commenting. I thought it was. Apparently it's real.
Lock her up, I think it's, yeah.
Lock her up?
Lock her up is the word of the day.
Ooh. There's this crazy video, but I don't know if I can show it. This cop, NYPD cop, beating the shit out of offender who punched and knocked out female officer. So this guy punched and knocked out a female officer. Let me just show you a still image, I guess. This is the woman that was like punched. She's bleeding out. She's kind of like barely keeping herself together. And so the cop beat the ish out of this guy. I think rightfully so. Not only beat him, but pulled his pants down. What? On some prison break shit. Some put your hand in my pocket shit. Put your hand in let me see if I can. The guy's name's Teabag. I did a GIF yesterday. Teabag. Hand in pocket. Put your hand in my pocket.
What I do is take this pocket right here.
Take the
and your life
pocket.
be all peaches and cream. I walk, you walk with me. Keep you real close so no one up in here can hurt you.
Looks to me you already got a girlfriend.
I got a whole nother pocket over here.
I'll pass.
Put your hand in my pocket.
Just feels good. Isn't that one of her attorneys right there? Gosh, didn't she have a new? Yeah. And may the odds be ever in your favor, loser.
Monica says, I don't want to criticize anyone for what they do to their body. I love my tats and my Prince symbols done 20 years ago. First tats. I only do things that I really love and are meaningful. I think with this situation with this girl, she's 21 years old. I mean, if it was my kid, I would probably tell her, what the F are you doing? What the F are you thinking? Type of ish, you know? To get a face tattoo, like a forehead, you're 21 years old, that could affect the rest of your life, getting jobs, anything. Like, it's just, or you're literally putting a target on yourself. It's wild. But hey, she does OnlyFans. You know, I don't know, maybe it'll help her out. Maybe the clout come up. Imagine dating somebody like that, bro. I don't know. I could date somebody on the forehead. I don't know.
Lock her up! Lock her up! Lock her up!
Hey! Lock her up!
Lock her up! Lock her up!
All right.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
Bonnie from Publix. I run into Bonnie all the time. Okay, so Bonnie, first of all, you have to subscribe to the Chase channel, because I know you told me you didn't know I had a Chase channel. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Ikid Mel CC. I'm mostly doing all my chases on that page, unless I'm out of notifications. So, Bonnie, make sure. I think we've run into each other twice. Or was it just once? I feel like I've ran into you twice at the Publix. So, Bonnie, click that link in the chat, please. I hope you can subscribe, because I don't want you to miss the videos. Okay. And then last night, that person he went into custody. He gave up, went into custody, and so he was arrested. The interesting thing, I think what was really interesting too, on the Chase channel last night, there was this guy that's a rapist, a serial rapist. And he was in a chase. He's from Boston. And you know what ended up being like the result of this? This guy was wanted from like decades ago. He's been on the run for years. He's been in multiple states. I think he's probably done other crimes. Rapist from years ago. He got caught yesterday in Cali. Wild. So, yeah, hopefully make sure you subscribe to that page too. I appreciate it. A lot of wild stuff happening. They caught his ass. I'm so glad. Crazy that somebody like that can get away for so long. Monica, yo, I appreciate the membership. The best 7 months out of the best 7 months being here. Thank you, Mel, and for all your kindness. Thank you, Monica. I appreciate you. 35 years, right? I'm Gen 828 Caroline says, I'm Gen X. I still believe that you can get tattoos. That you get tattoos where they can be covered. I think that too. It's probably the best. I have like 2 on my back, 1 on my leg. I'm glad I never got anything on like my face. I wouldn't have never even thought to do that, you know, or on my arms and stuff. And honestly, I don't care for them anymore. At one point I was younger, I cared for them. Now I really don't give a shit about them. I mean, I'm not gonna spend money on it, but I would get it removed, but it would take so long because it's like a lot on my back. I don't even care about them anymore. It was a moment and period in my time in life, and I don't give a shit about it anymore. I was teetering with a sleeve, Beach Mel. Beach Mel says she has a full sleeve. At one point, I was teetering with a sleeve because they do look kind of cool. I think some of them do look kind of nice and stuff. But Beautiful Disaster, thank you for the 5. Gracias, says Mel. I just want to say how proud of you and how well your channel is doing. Thank you. Your channels keep me grounded at times. Thank you so much. I think things are going to get better. I think things are going to pick up. Facebook's down right now, but I should soon be able to stream to Facebook. I'm going to start a new Facebook page too and avoid streaming certain things because I think Facebook's one of the worst platforms, the most restrictive platform out there. I mean, you can make money on there. It's cool, but like in a heartbeat, they can remove you and you make nothing. Like there's nobody to talk to. Well, you have to pay to talk to somebody over there, but if you have anything on your channel, they won't let you pay. They won't let you buy in. YouTube, there's all this customer support. You can email somebody. Sometimes it's not the best, but now like I've had a YouTube manager. I have a new one. I had one for 6 months, and now there's another period. Then I just got another one, and I have somebody I can contact directly. If I have a problem, I can email somebody personally directly. You know, Facebook don't have shit like that. Facebook's kind of is so aged and dated, and they're just losing because they don't adapt to the times. What is this? Is it trolling?
Mel, I just want to say how proud of you and how well channels are doing. Blackheart channel keeps me grounded at times. Grin.
There's this guy on Twitter named Greg. That's like a long time kind of troll. He's really funny. I don't even think this is really his picture. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, the Sanford Police Department. Is this a real police department? England's smallest police farce. Or maybe it's not. It's a troll. Committed to catching criminals and a swan. Don't report crime. Emergency. Okay. Priority satire says it right there. Officers are on the lookout for this male wanted for erasing the official government UK post, an offense under Section 8. The UK is crazy. They literally go and knock on your door for Facebook posts. He said, I'm right here. There's something else that was really funny by this guy. He posts funny things all the time. Here it is. He said that he said breaking and have accepted an offer to moderate the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. That debate is going to be fire. I can't wait.
And they said there's 3 or 4 production people. That's them, right there. Can I introduce you? Yes. Oh, they're all here. Your family members. That's my money. Oh, yeah. Let me see.
Oh my god. So that plane that we watched crash, apparently the creepy.org, they're saying over 60 people on board. Oh my god. Oh my god, dude. I just can't imagine like being on that plane. I wonder what happened. It looks like, I mean, I wonder if they had some mechanic. They're gonna have to go into the black box and try to figure things out. I guess they stalled out of the air, right? I don't know. And like the twisting. Oh man, that's just horrible, dude. It makes my stomach turn a bit. Jeez. Where was it? In Brazil. It was a passenger plane, Volpass flight 2283. Wow. Oh, it's not working.
Who's streaming the court thing? It was on Court TV? It was not Court TV. Court TV's in there, so they might be. Yeah. I think it was Matt from Court TV that stopped before he went in. I'm just so impatient. I can't wait till I get on to something. I'm like the old school. I'm old school.
What do the numbers under t-shirts mean? I honestly don't know. I almost wonder if that was John O'Keefe's like badge number. I mean, that would be my guess, but I don't know. That's a good question.
I won't do it. I'm like, I can't listen to this. They're trying to same way.
Woo! Getting crazy out there.
I'll do my best to.
5 minutes left, guys.
What do they cost?
Oh, the case number? Kathy says it's the case number. Okay, thank you. I don't know. Okay. Badge number?
I don't know if she has PayPal. That's okay. I'll just. 12's fine. I don't. $3 is. Yeah. I appreciate it. I'll have her here. I asked you. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. No, I just have to ask him a technical question.
Yep. I don't do them on my phone, so I can't. No, would the X do it? I don't know. Yeah, it must be something that says NV. Are you sure?
Okay. Oh, she cut off. All right. Oh, they're getting ready to start.
You're pushing it live? We're sending it out to the other station. We're sending out over sound.
Okay.
Okay.
Court TV is live. We're waiting on Law and Crime.
We are getting outside. I'm sure some. We are getting outside. I'm sure some people take that video, put it up on the website. Some people haven't said anything. But we're in full on business right now for the next several days. So we're allowed to interrupt a lot of things. I know. We're allowed to interrupt a lot of things. Absolutely cannot interrupt you on this.
And apparently, too, the men out there love her. They say she's the hottest thing to ever walk on the face of the earth. So there's some guys out there, too, that are infatuated with her. They can't get over her. She's just mesmerizing. Karen Reed, oh, I love her. Yeah. Ooh. Sarah Boone wins motion hearing without attorney. Okay, Sarah Boone doing her thing. Fuck him. An hour ago. Okay, Sarah, we'll see you.
get our house.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
Hear ye, hear ye.
No Action Jackson. Apparently he out. Oh man. That's so crazy to see that, man. How that plane just fell out like that. It's a different view. Wow. That's insane. It's Paul O'Keefe. So Karen's very confident, smiling, laughing, kind of goofing around with the attorney. And hell, she survived the first case, the first trial. So, I mean, I'd be, I guess, laughing and smiling too, I guess. They keep saying free Karen Reed, but she's free too. They keep chanting. I'm like, but you know she's free, right? All rise, all aboard.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
Oh shit, there he is.
Justice Beverly Canoni, now sitting in the Norfolk Superior Court within Florida County and Norfolk, Rodney, defendant.
Action Jackson apparently doesn't live in the state. I heard he had to leave. Went back to his family and kids and stuff, whatever. I don't know if he has kids, but.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I use the podium? Thank you. Judge, there are two central issues. There's not one for amplification, there is one for recording.
If I could ask you to keep your voice up and turn on the amplification.
Yes, Your Honor.
I just want to make sure I hear it.
At a day like this, I'll keep my voice up.
Okay.
And thank you, Your Honor. There were two central issues that are raised by the motion to dismiss and the supplemental
Put the volume up for you guys.
filed on behalf of Ms. Reed. The first of them is whether or not where there's strong and I contend uncontradicted evidence that the jury reached a unanimous decision, even if it wasn't formalized into a vote or into a polling announcement to the court, but it's strong and uncontradicted as a result of the juror declarations that were made through counsel to the court, sworn to by counsel, that the jury reached a unanimous verdict on 2 of the 3 counts of the 3-count indictment. So the legal issue is in the face of that evidence, whether or not Ms. Reed can again be re-prosecuted for the same offense by the same prosecutor who we contend failed to prove her guilt to even 1, much less 12 jurors in trial 1. And when I address that, Judge, I will make a proposal to Your Honor that's close to the procedural pathway used by other judges in cases similar to this, in terms of just how do we transform representations in attorney affidavits into hard proof that we believe will convince the court, and in fact believe it will convince Mr. Lally in the district attorney's office that that jury, the jury that Your Honor described as an extraordinary jury, reached a decision. And it will be consistent with their jury service and consistent with respecting that jury service that we give at least the jurors who are willing to appear before the court anonymously the opportunity to inform the court that this was a final unanimous decision. It didn't get further deliberation. It was a unanimous decision on 2 of the 3 counts, and the impasse was in fact on the 3rd count, which was count 2, and the lesser includes the manslaughter count. The second of the legal issues that I want to address, and they both together center on the double jeopardy clause, its unique history, and it's discouraging, if not deterring, if not prohibiting second trials when there's any rationale that would justify the verdict of the first trial, the first jury, or the continuation of the first jury's deliberations, is whether or not, now that we have evidence that the jury was not at an impasse, evidence that was not known to Your Honor at the time that you ordered that they be disbanded and ordered the mistrial, evidence not known to Mr. Lally and the prosecution or the defense, that in fact the note they wrote to Your Honor after the Toohey charge on July 1 was not unambiguous, as Mr. Lally wrote in his pleading. It was ambiguous. It was subject to 2 constructions. One, that their impasse covered all 3 counts and therefore would lead ineluctably to a mistrial declaration, or 2, that the impasse was on 1 count with multiple lesser included charges, but did not encompass counts 1 and 3. Your Honor didn't know what was in the jury's mind, what was in their mind when they authored a note to the court, neither did counsel. But the issue now, and again, it's in the context of double jeopardy, which is such an historic and important clause that was enacted by our founding fathers to give them some protection against the sovereign, at that point the king, against simply choosing to mistry prosecutions that weren't going well. And the founding fathers wanted citizens not to have to face re-prosecution. They understood the ordeal and anxiety and risks of having to prove to a second jury what they had proven to a first jury, which is that they were not guilty. And so the real issue here is legally, what do we do when we now know that jurors are declaring to the court that they believed they reached a verdict of not guilty? What can we do on August 8th, if I've got the date correct? 6 weeks after the July 1 trial that Your Honor presided over, a lengthy trial with an exceptional jury. And I contend, Judge, that we can't just accept a fiction that the jury was at an impasse on all three counts when four jurors are saying to you through counsel they were not, and a fifth juror is saying to counsel indirectly they were not. We have to embrace the fact that these are now facts. Yes, they come after the end of the trial, but it doesn't mean that there's not some procedural pathway to integrate those facts into Your Honor's decision-making. And the second one, the manifest necessity issue, has got a lot more SJC and Supreme Court guidance. It's been the subject of lots of cases. We're walking a little bit down a pathway that has some precedents about jurors and they're being reconvened, but it doesn't have the clarity of the precedents regarding the manifest necessity standards, guidelines, principles that will address that. But here what we know is that four jurors reached out to defense counsel. Jurors A, B, D, and E, I think is the way they've been described by Mr. Jackson, who received calls from three of the jurors, and Mr. Yannetti, who received a call from one juror and talked to somebody who himself or herself spoke to a fifth juror. We also have the corroboration, not just internally, where these four jurors are essentially saying the same thing. We reached a decision. We didn't announce it. Some said we felt bad about it. We didn't know what to do. But they're internally consistent and not self-contradictory, and that makes them more trustworthy. They corroborate each other, and I contend that the voicemail left on Mr. Lally's phone, which he responsibly shared with counsel and shared with the court, essentially saying this was probably one of the four jurors, but we don't know for sure, said essentially the same thing. We reached a decision that Ms. Reed was not guilty. Murder, the most serious charge that can be brought, a charge that would imperil the rest of her life if there was a conviction. Other jurors tried to reach the prosecutor.
Your volume is much better than Cower TV Mel. Thanks for going live.
Thank you,
much
Lallers.
love, laughing face.
Thank you for the 5. The audio is horrible on both feeds, but I'm just... Well, I don't know about Long Crime, but I blasted it up.
Every juror seems to want, and that's understandable given the level of media and public attention on this case, and I understand the court gave them discretion, and Your Honor made an order that the defense didn't dispute that they were entitled to anonymity. The public interest did not weigh the interest of the jury in anonymity. But we now have the declarations of the jurors through the defense counsel. We have a voicemail of one juror through Mr. Lally. We have emails of other jurors who only wanted anonymity as a condition precedent to talking to the prosecutor. This case, because it has catalyzed so much publicity, it's plausible to believe, if not compelling to believe, that other jurors who sat through so many weeks of testimony, this was probably one of the monumental central events of their life. Not many people, certainly not people who go, other than people who go into military service, have opportunities to serve their community like these jurors did. Not one of them, to our knowledge, has picked up the phone to defense counsel and said, those jurors that you're memorializing in affidavits and in motions, I don't agree with that. No one has called the district attorney. Nobody has emailed anybody. Nobody has called Your Honor through the court clerks. Nobody disputes, in other words, none of the 7 or 8 jurors that are not, represented by the series of affidavits of defense counsel dispute the truth of the representations made by counsel. We don't have certainty. We only have the reasonable inferences from the absence of other declarations, which is that this jury was unanimous in its acquittal of Ms. Reed on counts 1 and 3. So then we get to the legal issue, and again, as I try to say the legal framework here. The landscape is not quite as crystal clear as it is in the standards of manifest necessity, whether or not double jeopardy permits a re-prosecution in the context of this unique case. But what we have is court decisions saying, for instance, what constitutes an acquittal is not to be controlled by the form of a judge's actions. We're not bound by labels. That's the SJC in Commonwealth versus Taylor.
Use the restroom.
We have Justice Ginsburg joining Justice Sotomayor and Justice Kagan in a dissent in the Bluford case, saying, in ascertaining whether an acquittal has occurred, form is not to be exalted over substance. But they are making that point. I mean, I've done this for 52 years, and procedures important, inform, sometimes governs. And it's the recognition that double jeopardy is different. For instance, as I'll get to in the manifest necessity phase of the argument, all of the courts put a heavy burden on the prosecutor to justify a mistrial letter, to justify a re-prosecution. Ordinarily, I'm used to the burdens being on me as a defense counsel. I'm used to having an affirmative obligation to lay out for an appeals court exactly what I want. But in this unique area, the disincentive to re-prosecuting somebody, the same prosecutor for the same offense, when there's evidence of an acquittal or evidence that the jury wasn't at an impasse over all counts, is so significant, it's so core to our values, that they put the burden on the prosecutor, and I will get to the cases that support that, what I call a central proposition, which is, where's the default? Is the default from not asking the jury about these other counts that Ms. Reed goes to trial again? Or is the default instead that the prosecution simply cannot again re-prosecute her when there was not manifest necessity in the first place for the counts 1 and 3? The Supreme Court 67 years ago, and I remember it because it was the tail end of the Warren Court, and it revolutionized criminal justice, and it talked about Miranda rights. Nobody knew Mr. Miranda back in the 1950s. Gideon gave right to counsel rights. Mapp v. Ohio extended suppression remedies for Fourth Amendment violations. These were all unknown until the Warren Court. The Warren Court, in the case of Green versus the United States, and it's in our pleadings, said, and it's important, that double jeopardy was designed to protect an individual from being subjected to the hazards of trial more than once. That the state, with all its power, should not subject a citizen to the ordeal of living in a, quote, continuing state of anxiety, as well as enhancing the possibility that even though innocent, he may be found guilty by a second jury. So what do we do in a world where we have facts not known on July 1 that are known on August 8? And we're not, this is not completely novel territory. For instance, the First Circuit, the Federal Court of Appeals, it's 11 years since the Boston Marathon bombing. And they're still dealing because of capital punishment with whether the punishment should be life or death for the Tsarnaev that was arrested and survived. And they recently, in a lengthy opinion of over 100 pages, said, bring back these 2 jurors where we have a principal basis to question their impartiality. The SJC just 4 years ago in a case dealing with a lawyer's allegation that there had been a racial statement. It's called the McCallum case, 485-90, said to the defense counsel, the judge will authorize you to recontact that juror and get an affidavit. And if there's any skepticism regarding the truth of the affidavit, we will have a hearing and make decisions. The nation was fixed to the Murdoch case from South Carolina, where a lawyer was accused of killing his family. And there was evidence recently, according to the media, that a clerk spoke to a juror, and the judge convened a hearing, questioned the people who were connected to it before in order to make a decision. In other words, regularly, judges who receive reliable evidence that there was extrinsic evidence, that a marshal talked to a juror, was a juror biased, was the questionnaire fair, that something happened that the jurors accessed the internet when they were judicially prohibited from doing so. Courts reconvene hearings, and I can attest that it can be done anonymously. It doesn't have to ineluctably lead to the identity of jurors. And we're going to ask the court to do just that, because without in any way diminishing the centrality and the importance of an impartial jury that tells the truth on voir dire, that's not ethnically or racially biased. There's nothing more central about making sure that jury was not influenced adversely by something from the outside or even by something from the internal discussions that reflected on a juror's racial and ethnic impartiality. But why isn't an acquittal entitled to just the same kind of deference? We have not evidence that the jury was not impartial or that they were influenced externally. We have hard evidence that they reached a decision. We're not asking to have any inquiry, whether by counsel or by the court, into the content of deliberations, into their reasoning, into all of those matters that are forever private. But here we're asking them no more than Your Honor could have asked by polling them, which is, did you reach a verdict on count one? What was that verdict? What about count two? No. What about count three? Yes. So there is precedent, although slightly different, but we contend no less important, to Your Honor making a decision. If Your Honor is skeptical in any way of the attorney's declarations,
thank you, Daisy.
You cannot accept them because they're not the sworn affidavits of lawyers, of the jurors. Sorry, we authorize them to do what they haven't, which is to reinitiate a call to these 4 or 5 jurors, ask them whether they would read the lawyers' affidavits and affirm that they're accurate, or alternatively authorize the lawyers to ask the jurors whether or not they would execute an affidavit. It could be 2 sentences. We reached a final decision unanimously to acquit Ms. Reed on counts 1 and 3. Your Honor doesn't have to accept 4 out of 12 or 5 out of 12. Your Honor has a lot of discretion in terms of how to get to the bottom line, which is what is the truth here. And Your Honor could schedule a hearing and have the 4 jurors in. They would remain anonymous. We would even waive public trial. I'm not sure the media would, but to keep this private and keep this confidential, because we don't want the jurors to, risk identity. Your Honor could do it in any number of ways. We have responsible court officers that can meet 4 jurors anywhere Your Honor selects. We have responsible lawyers and responsible prosecutors. This doesn't have to be an event that challenges the jurors' anonymity. I guess what I'm saying is that we're asking the court not through closing the door to this new evidence and really adopting a fiction that the impasse was on all 3 counts when we now know that there's strong corroborated, trustworthy evidence that was not, to establish a procedure consistent with McCollum, consistent with Satire,
Lally, you gotta come hard,
consistent with the Supreme Court decision in Renner, and take those cases where jurors do come in after the fact, when there's credible, responsible evidence that they were either biased or that they had some extrinsic evidence, whether from the internet or from an improper contact with a third party, and help us investigate this. I don't believe that if the Norfolk DA was convinced from that process, and it could be 4 jurors, it could be 12, but if all of them tell the court, we made a final decision, we never went back like the Bluford case or to re-examine it, it was not an intermediate decision, it was a final decision. All of our impasse was about count 2 and the multiple lesser includeds. I am hopeful that the prosecution would join with us in not seeking a new trial if they were convinced by these jurors, under oath, to what they've not yet been convinced by, which is defense counsel. This was a hard-fought case, and I'm not being critical of the DA, but I've done this for a long time, and I believe in our system of justice. People say it's not perfect, but it's the best that the world has. You know, this to me is hallowed ground in a courthouse named after someone who was a friend who I deeply respected. And I want the prosecutor to get the facts in the best way we can at this point in the case, which is through your honor. Order a hearing, Judge. Don't make Miss Reed be the first person in the history of the Commonwealth to face re-prosecution for murder by the same prosecutor's office that tried her once and failed to persuade the jury she was guilty. They've not given a single case where facts like this have been ignored. Not a single precedent have they raised. Nationwide, state courts, murder cases, 50 states, federal, where there's been this kind of demonstration that we were silent when we shouldn't be, but she was acquitted. They've got the Commonwealth versus Juvenile, where there was a verdict slip, nobody knows when it was written. We have Bluford, but there was clearly further jury deliberation after a juror told the judge that we had reached a decision on 2 counts. I'm convinced, perhaps, through many years of doing this, that acquittals count. And if she was acquitted, nobody wants her re-prosecuted on the counts for which she's been acquitted. And form's important, procedure's important, but what's more important is substance. What's more important is to find out whether that jury, in fact, voted to acquit and it was a final vote. And then I hope there's no dispute. I hope Mr. Lally will stand up in front of you and join me in asking that those 2 charges not be re-prosecuted.
Yeah, right. Lally, agree with that?
Switch from the acquittal and its implications to manifest necessity. In this case, we have explicit guidelines, which have been set out by the Supreme Judicial Court, that look to whether or not there was manifest necessity for the declaration of the mistrial. Manifest is a word that says to show clearly, and whether the mistrial order was avoidable, whether there were any viable options, whether the court essentially had no choice, no options. And here, at minimum, with 4 or 5 jurors saying, we believed her to be innocent, we believe there was a vote. There's no evidence from those declarations that there was an impasse on counts 1 and 3, an impasse that would have rationalized and justified the order of mistrial. The note, as I said, was believed to be unambiguous by the prosecutor, but in truth was ambiguous. It led to 1 or 2 instructions. And this is really becomes a burden of proof issue. Who bears the burden when there was an understanding by the court that the note reflected an impasse encompassing all charges, when we now know there was a rational alternative explanation for the note, a logical one, which is we were addressing only the charges in count 2, the multiple charges, the multiple decisions within the manslaughter count. Here's where the court helps us. The Supreme Court in Arizona v. Washington placed a heavy burden on the government, on the prosecutor, to justify a mistrial. The SJC has issued multiple opinions.
Yo, you guys calling for the wig?
Because I think the burden of proof is...
Manny, thanks for the 5. I might have to go grab it then.
Commonwealth versus Stewart, which goes back to...
I was going to wear it for like opening statements or something like this. Go to trial again.
That started formulating the jurisprudence around double jeopardy and manifest necessity. It says, the prosecutor must shoulder the burden of justifying the mistrial if he is to avoid the double jeopardy bar. His burden is a heavy one, citing to Arizona v. Washington. Cruz
Mel, where is your will?
JC 2012. The heavy burden of proving that a mistrial was due to manifest necessity lies with the Commonwealth. Commonwealth versus Nicole, 452 Mass. 816, 2008. The Commonwealth is unable to satisfy its heavy burden of proving that there was manifest necessity for declaring a mistrial, and the Commonwealth is therefore barred by the principles of double jeopardy from retrying Nicol. I have a copy of the Nicol decision because it's the one that was not referenced yet for your Honor's consideration. Nicol was an interesting case. It was a driving case, jury of 6. There was belief that one of the jurors should not be sitting because he knew a witness, if I'm recalling the facts correctly. And everybody considered it and thought there was no procedure to allow a trial to continue with a jury of 5. The defense counsel thought that, and the court thought that, and the court therefore declared a mistrial. Afterward, everybody discovered that this is in fact a rule of criminal procedure, and that defendants could waive a jury of 6 just like they could waive a jury of 12. And the court determined, as I just read, that there was no manifest necessity because there was a viable option to the declaration of a mistrial, that being the court could have asked the defendant whether or not they would agree to a jury of 6, but they didn't recognize it at the time. And then the court had a decision. Are we going to blame the defendant, make them go to trial a second time in the face of double jeopardy's manifest necessity requirement, or are we going to put the burden on the prosecutor to have advised us of that rule? This case is similar, Judge, because what you weren't advised of is Mass Rule 27B. See, everybody focused on Roth and Juvenile and Bluford, where all of them were single counts with lesser included. In the Roth case, the SJC decided that it prohibited judges like yourselves from inquiring into the vote. You couldn't ask the jury, well, if you haven't decided on manslaughter, what about involuntary manslaughter? What about OUI? But this is different because we have 3 counts, not 1. And Rule 27B that you were not advised of, and we contend, of course, the burden was on the table of the side that wants to re-prosecute her, says as follows. The judge may declare a mistrial as to any charges upon which the jury cannot agree upon a verdict, provided, however, that the judge may first require the jury to return verdicts on those charges upon which the jury can agree and direct that such verdicts be received and recorded. The advisory note is even more explicit. This rule also provides that the court may declare a mistrial in cases where the jury is unable to reach a verdict. However, it must first receive and record the verdicts which the jury can agree on. That rule, had it been brought to the court's view, provided a viable option to a declaration of a mistrial. It would have justified the courts, it would have required the court, as well as justified, to ask the jury whether or not it was an impasse on all counts, or rather than just one. So the Supreme Court not only puts the heavy burden on the prosecutor, it provides a set of guidelines which were established back by the Stewart case and repeated most recently by the Taylor case. And they even call them two principles guiding our review of manifest necessity. One is counsel must have been given, and the word must implies it as a mandatory, as an imperative.
Let me see if I can go live on Facebook. I feel like it's been 2 weeks already. Oh no, it's 30 days, right?
And I'll address that second. And, quote, the trial judge must have given careful consideration to alternatives.
Let me see.
To a
I'm going to hit the
mistrial.
live button.
These are legal imperatives, and we
I can't
contend
go live.
respectfully, for a variety of reasons, that neither of those two guiding principles were met by the evidence of what occurred on July 1, where we have the chronology of, Your Honor, taking argument from counsel regarding the morning note, and the prosecutor didn't want a 2E instruction, the defense counsel did, Your Honor elected to give a 2E instruction, and 4 hours later, the jury sent a second note. Unfortunately, there was no convening of counsel and no request for counsel's position, no opportunity for Mr. Yannetti and Jackson to speak to Ms. Reed. After all, it's her rights, not just theirs. And there was this lack of consideration, careful consideration of Rule 27B, which the prosecutor failed to bring to the court's attention. Again, usually this would be an issue where the defense counsel could be criticized when they don't object to instructions after trial instructions. The Court of Appeals makes it very hard for appellate lawyers to succeed in reversing the judge's not providing an instruction that later they learn. But this is double jeopardy. This is different. This is why all of those cases, the U.S. Supreme Court in Arizona, the Supreme Judicial Court in Stewart, in Nicole, the Appeals Court in a case, Commonwealth versus Oregon, that we've cited. In light of the importance to the defendant the right to be free of exposure to second jeopardy, the burden of justifying a mistrial rests on the prosecutor. And so again, it's the default. If these procedural guidelines, these principles, where the court must consider any viable alternative, just the judge may not know every rule at every moment, just like the judge in Nicole didn't. It's on the Commonwealth to have advised you, Judge. So this
it's
was
killing me.
A case that really
Get the wig
comes
out.
down to whether or not there could be deference to a judicial ruling when it was made without meeting.
Okay, Egghead Mel, this guy is super boring and low energy. You will need to break the emergency glass and get the wig out to bring back the energy.
Issued its final order, and a full opportunity for the court to consider the alternatives to the declaration of mistrial. I would say to Your Honor that this is not easy. This was a long trial. Prosecutors had strong evidence that the jury was in fact deadlocked, at an impasse on count 2. The prosecutor has strong evidence that in fact the jury was not at an impasse on counts 1 and 3. They have to meet a burden of demonstrating to the court that they gave you all of the alternatives to the declaration of mistrial. And they should want, I submit, in a search for justice in this courthouse, where we don't want somebody who's found innocent once to face the second trial for the very same offense. That's the whole principle, the centrality of double jeopardy, Justice Douglas and Black's words in Green. They should join us in asking the court to establish a procedure in Your Honor's discretion that either allows the defense lawyers to supplement the declarations with juror affidavits, or cut right to it, that the
Thumbs up for Wig,
declarations
thumbs up.
satisfy our burden of production. If Ms. Reed was acquitted, bring the jurors in, Judge, hear from them. Beg you, it's the right thing to do. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
You want me here or?
Wherever you.
Okay, Lally, what do you got, man? Audio's so bad in the courtroom. It's even worse now.
Counsel had more than adequate opportunity to be heard and object to the declarations of Mr. Barr in this case, and the mistrial was declared as a manifest necessity. To that last point, as it applies to what counsel was referencing in regard to Rule 27B, what I would submit there is there's a stark difference between what Rule 27B encompasses and what counsel is asking for the court to do. And what I would say is there's a difference between what Rule 27B talks about, which is taking, or the right of a court to take partial verdicts, which certainly the court is entitled to do. If that were at any point in time indicated in any of the communications from the jury, or if there had been any communication whatsoever from the jury that they had reached a partial verdict. So Rule 27B has to do with taking of those partial verdicts, not inquiring or trying to extract or coerce a partial verdict by polling the jury who has declared repeatedly to the court that they're in an impasse. So simply put, Rule 27B just does not apply. When it comes to each of those respective points, the jury in this case, when one did not return a verdict,
oh my God! I didn't through. Thank you. Thumbs up for the wig.
To object to the declaration of mistrial. And three, that the mistrial was declared out of clear manifest necessity, which
yeah, I can find
court, the case law has repeatedly stated is a typical sort of evidence or example of what manifest necessity is. But to those points, it is backed by decades, if not centuries. Does quite a twisting of logic into sort of a pretzel in order to have the circumstances of this case fit into the precedent. There's a reason for that, because there is clear and unequivocal precedent on each of those points that goes back decades, if not centuries. Commonwealth versus the juvenile is a case directly on point, and as the court is well aware, that's a case in which, following jury deliberations and the defendant having been convicted after trial, one of the court officers found a verdict slip in the jury deliberation in which the verdict slip was marked as not guilty. That case stands for the proposition that where those slips were in contradiction of the jury's report to the judge in open court, that they were deadlocked, that does not guilty finding on the verdict slip does not contravene or overrule of the verdict as it is applied in open court. Quoting from that case, and I think it's directly applicable to what's been provided to the court so far, it states, it is not enough to show that the jury may have agreed on some issues at some time. If that limited showing were to control, uncertainties would be invited. And that's exactly what the defendant is asking the court to do in this case, is in contravention to that case law, in juvenile, in Blue, in Roth, in Gray, in all of the cases over the decades and the centuries dealing with this. Bluford itself states very clearly, the very object of the jury system, after all, is to secure unanimity by comparison of views and by arguments among the jurors themselves. A single juror's change of mind is all it takes to require the jury to reconsider a greater offense. And that also comes in Commonwealth versus Carnes as well. But what it states, Your Honor, this jury was instructed.
Okay.
Not only instructed orally for a lengthy time, but was provided with written copies of those instructions that the court gave. that stated on at least 9 or 10 different times exactly what a unanimous verdict was and how to come to that unanimous verdict and how to record that unanimous verdict. And there is no verdict that was returned stating anything in this case. And in particular, the two charges that the defendant now complains of dealt with simple choice. There was a box for guilty and a box for not guilty. Neither was charged, neither was checked, neither was returned to the court at any point in time. There is no verdict in this case. Now, as far as whatever those communications that the jurors are referencing, what the Commonwealth was doing, Your Honor, is the jurors did nothing wrong in this case. The court did nothing wrong in this case. The court applied the law as it exists to this case. There's nothing special about this case. There's no special application or procedure that needs to be developed.
Y'all ain't special. Y'all want to be special, but y'all ain't special.
This defendant, in this case, should be treated as any similarly situated defendant or any similarly situated case within the court system. These jurors, as the courts refer to them as an extraordinary jury, and I know the court had opportunity to observe the jury throughout the course of the lengthy trial and to review the many communications that the jury submitted to them, which the Commonwealth would submit, were thoughtful, were deliberate, were intelligent, were insightful. This jury told the court on multiple times that they had reached an impasse as far as their deliberations were concerned, as it pertained to the charges. In the final note that was submitted to the court, they referred to the charges in the plurality, twice within that note, as it pertains to exactly what they were stuck. When it comes to what they were communicating and reporting to be at an impasse.
I'm late, tired, your hair looks great, they are Mel.
Whatever point jurors may have felt, the other thing I would say about the jury is, and this goes to the precise reason of why the procedures suggested by counsel are completely inappropriate in direct contradiction of what the case law says. I can't imagine whatever the jurors have undergone since July 1st, as far as extraneous influences, whether they're personal, professional, who they talked to, what they talked about, how those things have formulated in their minds. The intense pressure that they felt, just looking at the affidavit from the one juror in regard to the comment that the court had allowed with reference to the jurors' information remaining anonymous, at least for the time being. With respect to that is exactly what the case law advises against and governs as far as taking this sort of post hoc, weeks or months after a verdict has been returned or not returned, and then asking people to put themselves back in a position and indicate to the court exactly what was going on in that deliberative process.
This is like Alex Murdoch 2.0, right? Like when they said the jurors were like compromised and whatever. It was like Alex Murdoch 2.0
is infringing into that deliberative process that is specifically excluded from any sort of point of contention or inquiry by counsel, by the court, at any point in time. When it comes to the adequate opportunity that counsel had to object or to suggest anything else, this is the very first time that the jury gave any sort of note or indication beyond the first note asking for a report. Mr. Yannetti was asking for Tui Rodriguez. And understanding that asking for Tui Rodriguez is not equivalent to requesting...
I meant to cut LMAO rolling on the floor laughing.
Experienced counsel knows that. And even in that first note, the jury had not indicated that their deliberations were done, or that they had done thorough deliberations. They weren't asking anything. They were just reporting to the court simply where they were in their deliberative process at that point, reported to be at an impasse. Counsel, and these are Mr. Yannetti's own words, on both occasions, indicated that from that, or argued for Tui Rodriguez on both of those first two notes that came from the jury, that this jury was emphatic and that they were, quote unquote, hopelessly deadlocked. That is what counsel was asking for. What counsel is intimating there, making an argument about is for this trial at those particular points, or at least leading down. Now, as far, and this is also, again, as I stated, backed by the case Ray versus Commonwealth states, counsel's request for Tui Rodriguez instructions permits, quote, the inference that both parties were provided an opportunity to confer on possible alternatives to mistrial. Ferrer versus Pereira is on point with that particular point as well. And I think it's also important to consider this in the context of this particular case and this particular trial. This is counsel who was not shy, did not have any misgivings about presenting any sort of argument, any sort of argument against the court's decisions when it came to anything that was even a perceived slight measure against the defendant's interest, and I would direct the court to the verdict argument that was made post-trial as well.
And I'm an innocent bystander. They saying I drove a getaway car, but I cannot see. I'm legally blind.
So you can't see at all?
Huh? Mom, I love you. P.O.P. all the time. Right there, I'm good pimp squad.
A typical example of the manifest necessity is a deadlock jury or a hung jury, and that is what we have in this case. It's clear, it's unambiguous from all the communications. Even Mr. Unetti during his arguments for the Tui Rodriguez recognized the same. The dangers of coercion when it comes to the deadlock jury are amply stated throughout the case law, as far as Ray, as far as Cruz. The court was never required and has never been required, and that goes from the Blueprint decision from the United States Supreme Court to the Supreme Judicial Court of this Commonwealth, that there is no requirement that the court makes any sort of polling or has any sort of asking when it comes to those how the jury stands, or whether or not they have a vote, or whether or not they have a partial vote. I would also submit, Your Honor, that counsel's argument is a little disingenuous when it comes to indicating that those cases only apply when you're talking about charges with lesser included, or charges that have a multiplicity of different findings that the jury can make. Because it ignores the fact that there are those two, and the two very charges or indictments that the defendant is seeking to dismiss here were very simple. Not guilty or guilty. Those are the two boxes to be checked.
That's it.
So in those instances, it may be permissible for the court to require a poll. But the coercion and the fear of that that's developed through the case law is inherent within the second count, which had all of those lesser included charges, which is exactly what the case law and the rules prescribe, as far as not allowing for the court to inquire into those types of scenarios. So, yes,
thanks, Carly.
the defendant's position is the court should have polled or inquired only as to indictments 1 and 3 and not to as indictment number 2. But again, I don't know that there's any requirement for the court to do that. I don't know exactly how the court is to do that when it comes to those types of coercive pollings of the jury while they're still deliberating.
Bring it home, Larry.
The communications from the jury, again, on 3 separate occasions, and very deliberately, as far as the language that was used, declared themselves to be on an impasse on 3 separate occasions, the last of which included language to the effect that any further deliberations would be futile. That is the very definition of manifest necessity, and left this court with absolutely no alternative other than to declare mistrial. And that is clear from the language of the jury's communications to the court, and it's clear from the case law and the rules and the law itself as far as what the court can do.
Paper right here. papers and shit fiddling all the time?
The two areas that counsel is talking about and sort of asking for an extension of creation of new law, again, sort of special or deferential treatment to this case or this defendant. The two areas in which the court can make post-trial inquiry have to do with some sort of bias, if there's an issue raised in regard to whether it's due to racial discrimination, gender discrimination, or some other protected class. So that sort of bias implicit in the jury's deliberative processes, or in an instance
I'm about to take a walk too. Shit, it's kind of like, let's go, pick it up. And Auntie Bev, she don't look. She's just like whatever. She's like Auntie Bev.
In an instance in which there is some sort of allegation or some sort of evidence of extraneous influence, the defendant's not raising either of those issues. Specifically within those cases, what the court states.
Why don't they have better audio? It's been years and decades. We have rockets flying to space. Why can't we get some decent audio in the courtroom?
Extraneous influences or bias on the parts of the deliberating jurors are permissible areas for post-trial inquiry. What all those cases also say is any inquiry into the deliberative process or exactly what counsel is proposing here is specifically prohibited by those cases that have developed over the decades. Commonwealth versus Moore states specifically that Massachusetts continues to adhere to common law principles barring inquiry into the contents of jury deliberations and any impeachment of jury verdicts based on information gained from such inappropriate inquiry. Now, the reason that the Commonwealth did not respond directly to the jurors when it came to them expressing or wishing to have discussions about their deliberative process or their votes is specifically for the Rule of Professional Conduct 3.5c states specifically that inquiries into those topics are not allowed. The case law that is derived around that and since that corroborates. Simply because someone called you first does not then allow for that inquiry to occur. So whether or not you initiate the call to the juror calls you, it still does not allow the counsel or the court to then have these conversations with these jurors that delves into their deliberative processes or their deliberations. The specific type of coercion that is feared by the courts when it comes into this, and I'll sort of condense quote from Commonwealth versus Law. And it states simply, one cannot assume from the mere report of deadlock that there is any final verdict lurking within that deadlock that may be extracted. Such inquiries of the jury may succeed in extracting a partial verdict, but we could not have confidence that that partial verdict was the product of a thoughtful and thorough deliberation process. The risks of jurors' coercion are too high, and the reliability of any such partial verdict returned is too low to warrant such an approach to salvaging some partial result from a deadlocked jury. Simply put, Your Honor, what counsel is proposing as far as what the court should do is prohibited by the rules, it's prohibited by the law, it's prohibited by the development of case law over decades and centuries as to what is permitted. Certainly, the Commonwealth nor anyone wants to try someone who has been acquitted by a jury of their peers or retry them for the same offense. That's not what happened. There was no verdict returned by this jury.
Tell him, motherfucker, tell him.
Counsel had more than an adequate opportunity to address the court in relation to the
Well, you need a little bit of umph in you. We need to like somebody give him some testosterone injections or something. Pop his ass with something. I think he's done good, but he needs a little more umph.
It's simply not permitted by the rules. It's not appropriate, and therefore the defense motion should be denied. Thank you.
And maybe you should grow game. Get a full head of hair. When you're doing this trial shit, you can speak. And bring this guy back. Fuck, I'm gonna have to step away.
Two cases that Mr. Lally relied on. They both stand for very different propositions of law. Commonwealth versus a juvenile. It's actually juvenile versus Commonwealth at 392 Mass 52, 1984.
A beret.
Says the judge was under no duty to inquire as to the status of the jury's
Papa Addy or
deliberations
something.
on
Yeah,
each
get some
of the
emotion.
lesser
The only person that's had
included
emotion in this whole thing is
murder
Action
complaint.
Jackson. That's it.
Footnote 1 of that opinion
Wait, somebody some umph.
says,
Raise your
quote,
voice.
"We
Speak
deal
up in the
here
fucking
with a
courtroom.
complaint
Like your life
charging a
depended on
single
it."
murder, where a complaint or indictment in multiple counts charges multiple crimes, e.g. 2 separate murders. A
Getting paid
general
thousands of
verdict
dollars.
could be
Speak up!
returned as to one of the counts, despite deadlock on other counts. Commonwealth versus Juvenile was as if count 2 in this case was the only count, and they discouraged any kind of court questions as to where the jury stood on lesser includeds. And that's the principle of Commonwealth v. Roth, the other case that Mr. Lowry figured. That case created a dichotomy where the court was asked whether or not a judge was permitted to ask the jury about lesser includeds. And because of the fear that a court's mere question could have a kind of domino effect in coercing jurors to reach compromises as to lesser includeds, the court prohibited such questioning as to lesser includeds. But the court distinguished throughout this lengthy SJC opinion. Our case, where we're not dealing with one count vertically with multiple charges, we're dealing horizontally with 3 separate charges. Both Buford and the juvenile had evidence that the unanimous verdict that the defense was claiming occurred before the end of deliberations. In the juvenile, I think weeks or days later, a court officer found some verdict slips. Nobody knew when they were written. In Bluford, the Supreme Court case, where there was a statement to the court that we've reached a decision on one count, the court sent them out under Arkansas law because they hadn't decided, just what they were.
Why does Karen Reed lawyer look like Poltergeist Kane? All that is missing is the preacher hat.
And they came back and said we're deadlocked and everything. But there's no risk of jury coercion when a court is asking the jury whether they reached a verdict on other charges other than the one they were deadlocked on. There's no risk of jury coercion saying, does your note reflect all charges rather than one? Your Honor instructed the jury, page 46 of the instructions, you should continue deliberating until you have reached a final verdict on each charge. We don't know whether the jury understood that instruction to mean that we can't come back and tell the court affirmatively that we've reached 2 decisions, 2 general verdicts, but we're in an impasse on a 3rd one. The Commonwealth talked about the risks that some of the jurors might be exposed to media, and that's certainly more than true in the Sanaev case, where they've had just an overwhelming amount of media regarding the catastrophe at the Boston Marathon in 2013, and the government's investigation, the trials. Jurors knew what one jury decided, and yet the First Circuit said that's not a prohibition about a court exercising authority to ask the right questions. Judge, you're an experienced jurist. I trust you to be able to determine whether or not a juror telling you they reached a verdict, to determine whether it was final or whether
like the only way is you're going to have to call in the jurors.
By the media.
How do we know what's true or not? You're going to have to call the jurors and talk with the jurors. That's the only way. I mean, I don't know.
Whether they're biased or unbiased. It's certainly not a prohibition that's.
And I think those jurors are biased.
An acquittal and allow a re-prosecution.
That crooked city, such a city, the people got no life. Their whole life revolves on Karen Reed, that whole city. They got nothing else. A weird ass town. I want to go visit them. I almost want to go, like maybe when I can't go right now, but maybe if the trial starts next year, maybe I just want to go in that town and see what it's like. I want to talk with these people. I want to engage them. Well, what are they like and shit? They got no life. What the fuck is wrong with these people? And the jurors too.
This witness's credibility, or why did you vote a certain way? Or what did the other?
Why do you have so much time in your hand?
A deliberating jury is not a focus group. It's not a place, for lawyers to ask about the views of 12 jurors, through the interview with one juror.
Richard, thank you for the PayPal.
Being asked to do no more than ask them what you would ask if they came out and said we have a verdict, which is, did you unanimously determine as a final determination that Miss Reed is innocent of counts 1 and 3? Was your decision unanimous? Did any juror dispute it? That's very different than probing the subjective state of mind or probing for what other jurors said that caused someone to reach that unanimous verdict. If Mr. Lally's concerned it wasn't a final verdict, Your Honor can ask the question, was it a final verdict? Was there ever a deliberation again after you reached that unanimous decision? In terms of the argument about Tui and Mr. Yannetti saying, well, they're deadlocked, if he wanted a mistrial, he could have asked for a mistrial then. Your Honor would have, of course, had the discretion to deny it after 4 to 5 days of deliberation. He asked for a Tui instruction. And what's inferred by a Tui or a Rodriguez instruction in the state court, Tui is, I think, is a 19th century federal case, is that you have hope when you're asking for the Tui instruction. My experience, usually the prosecutor who's confident in the jury that wants the Tui instruction to try to get the majority to overcome the minority and get to a guilty verdict. Here you have the defense lawyer asking for a Tui instruction, reflecting that he wanted further deliberations. And so it's no answer, and the Ray case does not say that when you ask for a Tui instruction, you are really asking for something more than a Tui instruction. Tui means, I want this jury to reach a decision. And that's what Mr. Yannetti was saying during those 2 colloquies on the Friday before and then on July 1. We're not asking a jury to impeach a verdict. We're not asking for an inquiry that would be prohibited under the federal rule of 606B. I think the state number might be about the same way in terms of asking the jury for their state of mind. We're asking the court to conduct a voir dire that Mr. Lally agreed would be done if our argument is one of the 12 jurors was biased. If our argument was, well, we now have new evidence one of the jurors read on internet. We have evidence here that the jury acquitted Miss Reed. What can be more central to the core values of our criminal justice system than to make a judicial determination with a respected and experienced Superior Court judge, whether that's so or not, and if it's so, stop her re-prosecution, because that would be a horror to make her convince 24 jurors of her innocence, a second 12 when she's already convinced the first 12. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, all right. What else?
All right, thank you very much. I'll take this under advisement.
Thanks, Judge. Judge, when I hand the Nicole case to you.
Sure, thank you.
Nice, man. Thank you for the 4 months. Pour tequila shots for everybody. All aboard.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
Auntie Bev, where you going? You gotta make a decision. Auntie Bev. Karen is smiling, laughing, everything. I made a tweet, but I know it's probably maybe some people are gonna be upset. I don't know. There, oh, that's her dad. Daddy, I love you. I don't know. Something about the way she smiles and she smirks. It just seems like fake as fuck. Just I don't know. I've dealt with people like that. Just like putting on a front, like everything's okay. Just right. I don't believe you. You need more people. So I guess the judge is not going to make a decision today. She just charged with like murder and all the other stuff. I think Daily Mail said like the happiest alleged murderer ever. Just right. She was a hoe fucking around or trying to fuck around, but want to be into it. And I noticed the people that back her, a lot of these people are the very same type of people, to be honest with you. A lot of these people that are like backing this shit, they themselves are the same type of people in their own lives. Half of them are criminals. And so like, oh, shit, I'm innocent too. I don't know. I might be reaching. Maybe I'm reaching. I don't believe her bullshit, especially after that interview. I don't believe it. With the words that came out of her own mouth, I'm sorry. I don't, not even just her, but the multiple witnesses, I don't believe it. Now, there were some shady witnesses. I agree to that. And like, fucking, was it Proctor? The text messages, whatever. Like, yeah. There's some shady stuff. It's really unfortunate that because of these people or whatever. I don't think you can have an unbiased trial in Canton. You need to take it out of that. So if you take that trial somewhere else, I feel like they find her guilty. I don't know about murder, but manslaughter. She'll be found guilty. You take that shit somewhere else. Come on.
The firefighter said that you said, I hit him.
I said, I hit him. It was preceded by a did and proceeded.
That's so weird. I can't get over this clip right here. The fuck?
The firefighter said that you said, I hit him.
I said, I hit him. It was preceded by a did and proceeded by a question mark.
Bro, if it was your family member that was found dead like this, you would buy this fucking story? Like, you would believe this shit?
What I thought could have happened was that did I incapacitate him unwittingly?
Did I incapacitate him?
Somehow, and then in his drunkenness, passed out.
When you
I'm still blaming him in his drunkenness. We all
walked out of the
in his drunkenness, like you weren't drinking as well.
Bar. How many drinks had you had?
I had probably about 4.
Commonwealth says that you had 9 drinks that night. That's what the prosecution says.
I don't believe they're saying I wasn't in my right mind.
They were saying you were intoxicated. Is it possible that you might have hit him unwittingly in your admittedly very large SUV?
No.
Bro, the way she worded that shit, and your admittedly large SUV. I have to step away for a second. I use the bathroom, but bro. Okay. Okay, so are they done? They're done for today? Is she gonna decide another day? Auntie Bev. Auntie Bev. Listen, for the people that watch me and disagree with me, I appreciate it. Thank you for still watching me, because some people have unsubscribed and left, so I really appreciate that. I lost subs within the last couple months, like 3-4 months, I think. When I checked, it was from Karen Reed. The Trump shit, I understand. Hey, you gotta go, I understand it. But the Karen Reed, I'm like, oh my God. Maybe it's because I'm trolling so much or like whatever. But I know there's some people here that watch me that disagree. So I really appreciate you guys, and I appreciate that you can find the humor in some of the shit that I say. If it were a family member of mine, I would want justice. I'd want evidence. I would go with the evidence. I would follow the evidence. I'd also go with the past history of everyone involved. I feel like if it was my family. So the family of John, from what I hear, they believe Karen did it. For me, I also would believe she did it. There's multiple people saying that she said, I hit him or whatever. There was even one witness. I'm trying to remember her name. Not Jen McCabe. There was the other lady that, like, and maybe you guys can tell me in the chat. The defense that was so talkative had nothing to say to this lady about her saying Karen called her and said, hey, John's dead, before the body was even found. The same lady that was in the car when they were driving to the house and said somehow Karen, in the snow and blizzard and whatever, she was sitting in the back seat. Karen, she somehow noticed John from the back seat. Oh, he's there. And they're like, what? We're like, what are you fucking talking about? What? What's that lady's name? I forgot the lady. I forgot her name. Was it Carrie? I feel like she was the most credible, in my opinion, she was the most credible witness. I thought. I feel like the only way for people to think that Karen wasn't involved is to accuse all these people of being involved in a murder. That's the only thing. That's the only way that's conceivable. You know? And I even think too, you know, that I can't remember the guy's name. Damn, dude, this plane crash was really bad. Wow. Footage from the aftermath.
Cuidado, explodir, meu, cuidado. Não tem o que fazer.
That's crazy. Wonder if anybody got killed on the ground. Welcome to the shit show. Marie, it's evidence to me. It is evidence to me. If multiple people are telling you this psycho chick called this chick that was gaslighting John when it came to Brian Higgins, accusing John of cheating, but her bitch ass was cheating and flirting around and being a little slut, you know, but want to accuse this guy gaslighting this motherfucker. I don't believe her. And when you take into account the interview, multiple witnesses, I totally believe she did it. I feel like she went into a rage and did that shit. Now, I mean, I don't know if she thought she killed him or not. Maybe she thought she hit him, or maybe she just... That's why I was like, I don't know about murder, but like manslaughter. Yeah, I totally think she did that shit. We had a plane crash into a house, kill a lot of people. Wow. Someone I know died. Wow. I sometimes think about that. Like if somebody crashed into my place, you know, like a plane or something. I think about it. It's crazy. I think about that sometimes. Yeah, Karen, I don't believe her. And I know there's people that do. And there's people that want to make her a celebrity, and they spend all their money on her. And she's loved. I get it. And she's a community figure. Oh my God, I love you. And I just feel like this is mostly a movement for depraved people, criminal people that are like, yes, she made it. I'm probably reaching, but I don't know. But I do think she did it. And you know what too? I think these people were so confident that she wasn't going to be found not guilty. And so when they couldn't come to a conclusion, they went crazy. They went nuts. These people, and I've said this on Twitter, they're some of the most sore winners I've ever seen. Like, this was the conclusion for the last trial. It's not the best outcome, but it benefits her that they couldn't make a decision, right? And these people have been nothing but bitching, whining, and complaining for weeks and months. Bro, you caught a W and you're still bitching, whining, and complaining. So that, to me, that tells me something's wrong with you. Like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys are still, maybe you're afraid of what the future holds. Maybe. I don't think that's hearsay, Marie. You're saying, Mel, it's evidence to you, but the courtroom, it's hearsay. Marie, you ever done jury duty? Have you ever been a juror? I disagree with you. I feel like these people that are supposedly the righteous and on the side of justice are some of the people screaming the loudest. Why are you screaming so loud? Why are you going so crazy? Why are you doing all this weird shit, stalking the jurors? Why are you showing up to like Jen McCabe's and all these families? Why are you showing up to their houses? Why are you showing up to their family events on some weirdo shit? How would you feel if people showed up to your family event with you and you're there with your kids? Right? How would you feel about that? Most of these people, unless it's happening to them, they don't give a fuck. So talk to me when these people are coming to you, to your house, to your family event, showing up with your kids, where your kids are at. Talk to me, but most of you haven't gone through that. I think some of these people haven't gone through that. Talk to me when they're showing up to your place, accusing you of murder and all this kind of wild shit when you've been falsely accused. Talk to me then, when you got to do a lawsuit and all the shit that I've been through. Talk to me then. Because if you haven't been through that shit, you're just somebody on your phone sending a text message. And that's it. Living through other people because you haven't been through it yourself. And most of these people are hidden. They don't even have a picture. Most of the people, they don't even show their face. Hidden on some alt profile on the internet. What about the expert saying it was a dog bite? That lady was a nut. That lady, I don't know. I don't think she was qualified. That lady was kind of out of here. I mean, they went through her stuff, but she was kind of. I think she was unhinged. Something was wrong with her ass. And you know what I realized? Not just with Karen Reed, but any other case. You can honestly, man, you can find an expert to say whatever the fuck you want. Pay them, and they'll counteract and counter whatever the other person said on the prosecution. I've seen it countless times. You pay somebody, they'll say whatever the fuck you want. I've seen it so many times. Maria, I haven't seen. Have you ever been a juror? Oh, that's what you said about having been a juror. Damn, I'd be afraid to. Well, it depends. If I was guilty, I'd like you as a juror. But if I wasn't guilty, I'd be afraid. I mean, I don't know. It depends. It really depends. I guess the situation really depends. Mel, I have to ask you, by what people, quote unquote, do you mean by there's something wrong with you? When I say people, and it's funny, I say that term "you people" because I notice some people get really offended when you say some "you people," right? So a lot of people get, "Oh, what do you mean, you people?" I say it because I know it offends people. But when in this case, when I'm saying "you people," I'm talking about the free Karen Reed, the extreme people, the extreme side of that, the people that are insane. If you disagree with them, they're doing all this kind of crazy shit online, and I've seen people get their jobs where they work put out. Like I've seen people have their addresses. I've seen all kinds of stuff online happen because you're not with the mob, you know, of these people. Marie says, Mel, have been extraordinarily supportive of you. This is incredible. Take care, Mel. Are you? I mean, I don't know. Marie, I appreciate you, and I would assume you've been watching me. This shouldn't be anything new to you. My thoughts and feelings on Karen Reed is, I mean, I've been saying this for months. It's not anything new. This is, I guess sometimes people maybe don't. I thought you were here for the whole time. You know how I felt about it. Crazy as next. Yeah. Jeremiah! I know that when you say "you people," it's happened so many times on Twitter, online. People get really upset about it. But I say that on purpose because people are, oh, what do you mean? But Marie, yeah, we disagree. And this is not a new position. This has been like, I've literally been saying the same thing for months. You know, I don't know. And I think Karen Reed, her facial expressions, I just feel like sometimes people, when they're going through shit, and some of these crazy chicks, and they want to pretend like everything's fine, but it's not. And so they're just like, and they're cackling. You're fighting for your life. You're fighting for your name, but you're somehow cackling the entire time during a trial. To me, it just screams fake. You're overcompensating. Well, why do you have to do that? You're overcompensating. There's something not real about you. Upsets Creek said you people need to calm down. Bit of a disaster. So I hope your court case is going good for you. It is. I can't really talk much about it, but there was a motion to dismiss from the other person, and it got denied. So that was like a little W for us. They tried to get it thrown out, and it didn't get thrown out. So it's progressing. Things are moving. I was unsubscribed. Oh, really? I keep hearing people tell me that they somehow got unsubscribed to the channel. I don't know. YouTube bad actors. Okay, thank you for the membership. I don't know if that's good or bad, but thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm getting some really nice comments. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Karen Reed. I honestly, with the Karen Reed thing, I started out with an open mind, an open heart. I really did. And I was like, this is sus. This is sus. That's how I started out. But the more and more like I got into it, and the more and more I saw these people, and I'm just like, I don't believe that the whole town conspired to have Karen. They make her seem like she's so important. Actually, some like fucking like, I don't know, like some type of like celebrity, former president, somebody in the Senate, Congress, governor. They make her seem so. These people have inflated her. She's nobody. She's nothing. She's only something, and only has any kind of relevance when it comes to being accused of murdering somebody. That's her only relevance. But these people, they get on their hands and knees and they're praising this woman. They're sucking on her toes and licking between her toes and spitting and sucking it back up. Why? I don't get it. She's not important. Only in these people's minds in that small ass town that nobody ever knew about until this story has to become something. Now it's a story to talk about. This lady that allegedly they're saying killed this guy John O'Keefe. That's it. Masso Oprah. Buller, what's up? I feel like with a little bit of time and patience, I hope that Lely comes through, and I honestly hope that she's eventually found guilty. That's how I feel. I hope she's found guilty. These people in the moment, they've won the battles, but they haven't like won the war. Like they've won a couple of battles here and there. We'll see what happens with these motions if it gets dismissed. And I really do feel like if this was tried anywhere else besides Canton or whatever the fuck it is that nobody knows about, nobody's ever heard of these people, but now all of a sudden they're relevant. I feel like if this was tried somewhere else, they would find her guilty of something. It wouldn't be this mass, like, oh, I don't know, and I'm not sure, whatever. And the jurors, all of a sudden they're involved and they couldn't come to a decision themselves. And so that's your fuck up. So you need to shut up, sit the fuck down, and be quiet. Don't come out, oh, you're complaining about this. No, we did this, we did. No. Your time's up. Shut up, sit the fuck down. We're going to have to take this back to another trial because you guys couldn't come to a decision. And we're going to have to get another group of people that hopefully can decide on something, together. Your time's up. Move to the side. Be quiet. We don't want to hear from you. These people are scrambling and scraping. Oh, no. And they're reaching out to whoever, sending letters, or they want to be anonymous. No. Your time is done. Your relevance is done. Because that's all the people are holding us to, relevance. Your time is done. Move to the side and be quiet. And we're going to have other adults come deal with this situation because you guys were acting like children. You don't want to come to a decision. Sit to the side and be quiet. That's it. It's like these people that don't vote. You didn't vote? Okay, so shut the fuck up. Move to the side. That's it. I did go on a rant today. But, I don't know. Wilson said I love making Mel's rants. All right, I guess I'll get off for now. But I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for watching me. And that's how I feel. We'll see what happens. She might be the one that got away. Karen Reed might get away with it. And if she does, she's a celebrity forever and they'll do all this kind of stuff. I don't see the magic in her and I don't believe her. And when I saw the Brian Higgins stuff, she's a skeezer. Kind of like Alex Murdoch. She's a little bit of a skeezer and a scammer. And she's a little bit psycho. I've seen her type. I know it already. I know the MO. I've dealt with it all my life. So she want to play like you smile. No. Mm-mm. And I noticed the people that are rallying around this chick are the fucking psychos of the internet. People that have charges. People that are known for harassing, intimidating. People that beat children. People that are fucking liars about the things that are going on in their life. And so, like, I have to kind of look at that too. Like, it's so interesting that these people are rallying around this chick, and some of these people are some of the worst people I've seen online. Okay. I mean, I don't know. Okay. Just say it. I'm not going to say nothing. No comment to that message in the chat. I'm not going to say nothing. But it really is true. If you look into them, to some of these people, if you're really, people think like I make things. I really don't. You look into some of these people and you see their history. Everybody has something sometimes that they fuck up in life. I'm talking about habitual people and literal people that have literally attacked kids and literal people that have beat women. Literally, woman beaters are coming to the defense of Karen Reed. So, and they try to argue me on Twitter. Some of them are YouTubers. Okay, like I'm not even joking. I'm for real. Anyway, good night. I'm out of here. Bye. Love you guys. Bloop, bloop. Wilson, did you count how many goodbyes that was? Oh my God. Yo, yeah. Tonight at 10 p.m. is Trump rally. True that. And I don't know if it's Little Pump said that he was gonna make a diss song on Biden. I don't know if he's performing that tonight or not, but I guess we'll see. All right. Love you. Bye. Boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop.